Imagine you take a trip to another African country as an African, and then when you arrive at the airport and you're interacting with the immigration officials at the point of entry, and you realize there is a slight strictness in their tone when communicating with you. But then the guy standing next in line right behind you, some European, maybe from Italy or something, when it's his turn, he gets talked to and treated with so much respect. And then you're pissed off. Now, that's the first scenario, an example I can think about. Secondly, you as an African, okay, in your own country, you're just hanging around. Maybe you went to the bank to conduct some transactions, and there happens to be a foreigner, maybe a Lebanese, an Italian, Chinese, whatever. He's also standing in line right behind you. So you get to the teller and he's interacting with you in such a derogatory tone. His customer service skills are terrible and you're upset. But then you realize when it's the turn of the foreign person, the Indian person, he's talking to the cashier and the cashier has so much respect, treats him with so much dignity. And you're just upset that what the hell is wrong with us? Why do we look down on our own people and treat foreign people with so much respect and dignity? Well, I've come up with 5 reasons in this video, and check it out. My first reason has to do with the fact that colonization left a strong indentation in our psyche. Okay, it's so difficult for us to go past the negative impacts of colonization. It's so bad that we were colonized, our religions were snatched away from us, our languages were taken away from us, our culture, our way of life. We were made to believe that we were inferior and that everything about us is inferior. However, the people that brought in their new religions, their languages, their educational system, they portrayed themselves as superior. And that inferiority complex that we've had, it hasn't left us. It's still there till this day. And that's just a fact. So that is the first reason I can think about why we act the way that we act. And there is no excuse. Our behavior is non-excusable. Forget about the reasons why we act that way. It's not excusable. If you behave this way, that you're disparaging towards your fellow African and you kiss the ass of a foreigner in your country, you deserve the maximum level of criticism. Point blank and period. That's just it. Anyways, the solution to this problem: education. We need to educate our people on how powerful we are, on how educated we are, and we just need to continue talking about the positive things about us. Otherwise, truth is, a lot of our people are suffering from severe low self-esteem, and they are going to continue to perpetuate it to the generations that come after them. And that's why we need to continue talking about these things. The second reason I can think about why we Africans look down on ourselves and look up to non-Africans on the continent, which is an actually disgusting behavior, by the way, is the fact that we lack basic infrastructure, basic amenities that those other people, foreign nationals, seem to have in their countries. Now, let's just call it the way it is. Let's keep it real. On the continent of Africa, a lot of our countries lack basic amenities, social infrastructure, and things that are needed to make life easy in the 21st century. Basic things like running water, 24-hour electricity supply, decent roads, decent healthcare infrastructure. We lack a lot of these things on the continent, period. That's just the truth. I don't need to beat around the bush and act like, oh, things are kumbaya on the continent. That's not how it is. We lack a lot of good things on the continent, and that's why we have a lot of work to do. We have to build the continent and make it livable for our people. We point our fingers at the leaders, blaming them all the time, but we citizens, we also have some work to do. At the end of the day, majority of the blame falls on the leaders, but the citizens are also responsible for holding these leaders accountable I think it's time we stop being scared of them using their zombie police officers to shoot us down whenever we go out there to protest and demand our rights. We just need to go out there and do what we have to make sure things are working. So the mere fact that we lack these basic infrastructures, and the people of foreign descent in our countries, we view them as people that are basically in our countries, and they have an option to easily go back to their countries with better infrastructure and living conditions, then we tend to have a low self-esteem around these people. And that's why a lot of our people act the way that they act, and it's absolutely unexcusable. Even though you know that you lack some infrastructure or whatever, that doesn't mean you should display your low self-esteem in front of the world. Okay, the third reason why Africans behave the way we do with regards to how we treat ourselves in a negative way compared to how we treat non-Africans in a positive, respectful way on the continent is because our leaders do the same. And it's terrible. Obviously, you know that as a leader, you are highly influential in the society, and what you do, a lot of the people will replicate. So for the mere fact that our leaders have already begun manifesting themselves in a, just having the low self-esteem, when they are dealing with people from non-African countries in terms of providing health care aids, in terms of providing assistance, always looking up to non-Africans for the solutions to our problems. We have internal conflicts, and then the only way that we can resolve those conflicts, according to our leaders, is if they go buy arms and ammunition from countries in Europe, in Asia, and always depending on foreign entities to resolve our problems. Our leaders are guilty of it, and for that reason, it makes it difficult for the people not to think the same way. And that's one of the reasons why we look down on ourselves and look up to foreign people. Now, the fourth reason that I could come up with why we behave the way we do, looking down on ourselves and looking up to non-African people, is the fact that our natural resources on the continent, right from the discovery of the most crucial natural resources in Africa back in the 50s up until this day in 2020, the people that are responsible for the exploitation and exploration are mostly non-Africans. You think about Europeans, Chinese. Nigeria, for example. Oil was discovered in 1956 by a European company named Royal Dutch Shell, right out of Netherlands and England. These guys are still responsible till 2020 for majority of the exploration of the oil in the country. So tell me, how would we not have low self-esteem when dealing with people that are coming to show us how to maximize our own natural resources? How? It's not possible, man. And this is easily transferable to the population. We just look up to these people for the solution of our problems. It boils down to the third point that I made, but they are quite similar if you think about it. You think about our natural wildlife and plants and all those documentaries that showcase the animals and plants on the continent of Africa. Most of them are manufactured and produced by Europeans. They are made by Asians, they are made by Americans. Why are these people coming to the continent to maximize our own resources, to show us how to do things? It's quite unfortunate that at this point in history, with all the education that a lot of our people have, with all the skill sets and the technical know-how to do the same thing that these foreign people are doing on the continent, where they still are not able to, because a lot of the countries are not conducive for them, and they would rather take those skill sets to foreign countries where the infrastructure is developed. I mean, it's just crazy. It's ridiculous. The solution to this problem is we need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to make sure that all the promises that our leaders made during their election campaigns, right? They have to fulfill them. And if they're not able to fulfill them, they need to get out. We need to hold them accountable, make them leave those political positions. We can achieve this by protest. Trust me, protests always work. I know a lot of us are scared to get shut down by these zombies that are controlled by these crooked, fake politicians, these so-called leaders. We are scared to die from their gunshots, right? But the truth is, they can't kill us all. Now, the fifth reason that I could come up with why we Africans look down on ourselves and look up to everybody else, and that obviously tells on how disparaging we are when we treat one another, versus how we almost worship and adore people from Europe, China, and all those other countries and continents while they are visiting the continent of Africa, is because of the mainstream media. The effect of mainstream media, it's tremendous. You think about it. If you've been indoctrinated for so long to view a particular region as a place that is constantly suffering from wars, poverty, conflicts, economic instability, political instabilities, disease outbreaks, all types of negative things, is how the mainstream media has portrayed the continent of Africa. That has successfully indoctrinated the entire world, including us Africans, to view ourselves from a pitiful position and from a point of view of just negativity. So for that reason, it has affected our psyche so much that we just find it hard to, a lot of us anyways, not every single person, we find it difficult to believe in our abilities, and we just have low self-esteem. That's the end result of mainstream media. If you also think about the fact that mainstream media mostly only promote Africans that portray themselves buying materialistic things that were created in other parts of the world. For example, you find a lot of successful athletes, musicians, and successful black celebrities wearing products like Gucci, Versace, driving Lamborghinis, taking holidays in quote unquote exotic locations like Paris, Western countries, point blank and period. It makes us view our own as inferior and view every other person's own as superior. And for that reason, it has a profound negative psychological effect on us. And that's why we look down on ourselves and look up to everybody else. So the solution to this particular point is we need to be in control of our media. Unfortunately, a lot of these media reportings are actually true in terms of how negative some of the situation is in our countries. But our job is to fix those negativities in our countries by holding our leaders accountable. And also we need to be in control of our media. We just have to do it. And that's the final solution. So anyways, those are the few things I could come up with as to why we Africans look down on ourselves and look up to everybody else. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will disagree with some things that I've said. Feel free to drop a comment contesting what I have said, and if you have more points that you can think about as to the reasons why we behave the way we behave, feel free to drop it in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. It's the African Wahala. Peace.